You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Hello, people. Welcome to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. Thanks for joining us. Post-Christmas break, as always, I'm joined by, well, I've got to say, a very tanned Joe Cole. Where are you, bro?
Mate, I'm working in Dubai. We're doing my pal's football academy, Football Escapes. I've been here. We left on the 19th for lockdown, and it's gone crazy since. And, you know, it's one of them. Like, you feel bad because it's pretty much normal out here at the moment.
Yeah, my heart bleeds
lovely.
for you, mate.
I know, listen,
It's minus 4 here, Joe.
I've never been thrown out of as many friends group chats in my life. I just send a picture of my toes in the water. No, it's a tough one, Tom, because it's so tough. I speak to my mum and my brother and sister back home, and it's tough. But listen, I'm here, mate. I'm enjoying it for everyone.
Right, oh, thank you, Joe. I'll tell you what, mate. Thank you for taking that bullet, mate. That's really good of you. when I'll tell you what, that's what I'll say at people. When they say, "What do you make of Joe Cole?" You're obviously good mates with him. I'll say, don't you ever say anything bad about Joe Cole. He went away during the pandemic in the coldest December in 10 years, and he did that for us. He's a man of the people, Joe Cole.
Listen, I'm a man of the people, Tom.
And you know what? Also, I don't even mind. Look, I'm a big fella. Hotter climbs are always hard on me, right, Joe? Yeah. The problem I've got is you're sitting there wolfing down what looks like the most delicious biscuits I've ever seen in my life,
mate. And you ain't far wrong. Like, I don't even want to say it because, listen, they're a brand, but they're unbelievable. And that before we started this, that was full up. I've mullered them. That's about 3,000 calories worth.
Gold-plated as well, I noticed. Gold-plated biscuits.
Unbelievable.
But you had a good Christmas, good New Year, Joe?
Yeah, really good, mate. I missed family life. Everyone at home, friends and family couldn't come round. But I'm with my kids and my missus, and it was nice. It was different being away for Christmas, and it's the first time we've ever done it because I'm a real Christmas... I'm not really a real Christmas person, but for the kids I am. It was just different, big man, on the beach. It's a different type of Christmas. And I'll tell you one thing we did. We did our Christmas tradition. We watched Elf, the movie, on Christmas Day when all the that was proper.
Yeah.
Managed to source that on holiday. That was good. How about yours? How was your Christmas?
I mean, mine was literally me and my wife, and that was it. And we bought too much food. No one could come round, do you know what? I had the worst heartburn on Boxing Day. I thought, that's it. Literally, Boxing Day was the last day of excess. I thought I was having a heart attack. I genuinely was sitting on the sofa and thought, I ain't gonna even see 2021 here. I'm up against it. I'd literally eaten nearly a whole back of gammon on my own.
You know what? If anyone else said that to me, I'd probably say that's not. But with you, big man, I can see that you can put some food away. Mate, 6'5" here.
Yeah, and I was blaming the sprouts. What happens? Yeah. It's not the sprouts, it's the whole trifle you've eaten.
You can't blame the vegetables when you've had 3 trifles and 2 turkeys.
Listen, we've got a blinding show. We're coming back 2021. We've got a cracker here. Coming up on the show today, we're talking FA Cup weekend, Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp under a bit of pressure. And we've got an amazing guest. This guy played genuinely for one of my favourite ever teams. I'm buzzing about having him on. Former Liverpool, Blackburn, Sunderland and Republic of Ireland midfielder, Mr. Jason McAteer. How you doing, sir?
How are you, boys? You okay?
Hello, Macca. How you doing?
Before we start, Tom, when you said I played for one of your favourite teams, I thought you were going to say Marine.
No, one of my favourite ever teams, my old man's family is all Irish. So that 94 Ireland team was one of my favourite. I love that team. There was just something about that.
I think of it more as a country, Tom, rather than got to nip over and play for that team and play in green in Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, right. But by that I meant one of my favourite ever squads then. I should have said squads, right?
Yeah.
Squads.
That was a squad. That was
a hell of a squad, right?
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, I swear, Tom, they reckon the birth of your kids is meant to be the best thing of your life. I swear to God, the 6 weeks at the World Cup in '94 was the best 6 weeks of my life. Miles better than the kids.
You do realise your missus is going to listen to this?
There's not a better place to do it than America, right? You're out there. That was your first big tournament, right? How old were you, 22?
Oh, maths is not my strong point, mate. Don't get me backtracking here. I signed for Bolton when I was 20. and I played in the World Cup in 94. So that makes me around 23, 24.
Jace, was you right back in that team? Was you the right, because you started off as a right back, ring back, and then you sort of played inside, didn't you?
Yeah, no, what happened was I was playing on the right for Marine, and I got spotted by Phil Neal, who was Bolton manager. And I signed for Bolton in the January, and in the May, he got the bullet. So Bruce Rioch come in and moved me into centre midfield. So I actually was a centre midfielder. But then when I started playing for Ireland, which was around 93, just before we went to the World Cup in the summer of 94, Jack wanted me to play on the right. So I played right midfield for Ireland, but played centre midfield for Bolton. And then Roy Evans signed me and made me a wing back. Jesus Christ, no wonder I'm like messed up. I don't know whether I was coming or going. But I played on the right in that World Cup, yeah. But it was, you know, I've gone from like playing in, well, basically League One, then the Championship, and then, you know, going to the World Cup and playing against Italy, you know, getting on the pitch against Maldini and Baresi and all that lot. I mean, I was watching Gazzetta, you know, Channel 4.
Yeah, I used to be obsessed with that.
I was watching that, right? So that like watching that Saturday mornings was amazing. And then next thing, I'm in the tunnel and I'm like lined up next to Baresi and Maldini. Gee, honest to God, mate, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know whether to get a photograph, an autograph, or what. It was like, what is going on? I've been playing on Dogship Park in Marine.
Looking at the Italian play, how good looking are the Italian players as well? They look the nuts. I played against them with England, and when you go on the pitch to look for, like, before the game to check out the turf, they've strolled on like in the best tailored suits I've ever seen, not a hair out of place, suntanned, and we had these baggy Umbro tracksuits, and we looked like the in-betweeners. I thought, how are we going to go up against this mob? They were so good looking.
We were like the dog and duck. Seriously, we were in flip-flops and shorts, and like, just like, I think Andy Townsend had dyed his hair blonde.
Yeah.
Like,
Blonde tips, didn't he?
Yeah.
You must have got through some sunscreen, the Irish team, in that World Cup. Factor 75 or something. Some of them boys.
We were putting white emulsion paint on Steve Staunton.
Because that's what I watched over. I watched the Jack Charlton documentary, and he's like,
"Oh yeah,
it's an incredible. It's for anyone who hasn't watched it. I think it's just the making of that man and what an incredible guy he was, and like having a lot of Irish family. And I was over in '94, Jason. I watched a lot of that out. All my family's from Mayo, so we watched that in Mayo. It was an incredible thing of just see Ireland at that time. But what was it like playing for Jack? Like, just I think. Because he was an incredible guy, right? And an incredible manager, and what he pulled together for that team that you had in '94 for that game against Italy. Like, you know, I can't remember being as buzzing about any football match as watching that Ireland. Because as well, I was always an underdog playing football, whatever. It felt like there was never a bigger underdog story than you guys going up against Italy. And like you say, we all knew what the Italian football like. We'd all watched the Italian football on Channel 4. We knew these worldwide stars. It was the biggest league at the time. And then you guys come in, like you say, there's guys playing in League One. There's, you know, and all of a sudden, it was just an incredible thing to be a part of, right?
Oh, it was amazing. I think, Joe, did you get on the back end, Joe, of like the transition of football going from the drinking culture and coming through to the more scientific? Were you on the back end of that?
Well, my first night out was with Razor Ruddock, so yeah, I'd say I did.
I'd say you were then, yeah. Well, like, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like, sort of through the mid-90s, I always think, like, you know, I had a taste of everything, really. The managers were more man managers in a sense of they respected you for being men, and they give you that little bit of rope, and we wouldn't like overstep the mark. We'd appreciate what he was trying to do. We were footballers, we were professional, but, you know, we were allowed to sort of be ourselves a little bit. And as well as, like, there was no phones and social media, so we could duck and dive and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn. Well, the younger lads in the team who were single, I mean, that World Cup, we were in the strippers and that. And going out for a drink, and like, we were just like, but Jack was, I mean, he didn't frown upon that. He just made sure that you were on the training pitch at like 9 o'clock. You trained hard, and you give it 110% every time you played. Got results, and he was happy with what went on, you know, outside. Yeah. As long as, like, the police weren't called, or you were on the front page of the papers, then that was it. You were all right.
Yeah.
If we talk about that, I mean, you've got to talk about I know Redders very well, and that time at Liverpool, the infamous Spice Boys, which I suppose was because the talent in that team, Jason, was unreal. It was like, an incredible team. But do you think that was, you look at it now and think, where you look at, I suppose, good younger teams and teams now, do you think like you guys, maybe it was just a partying atmosphere or what? Or was it as crazy as people would like to make out, do you think, the Spice Boys? Or was it just a tabloid fodder?
My group of lads was like Jamie, Phil Babb, John Scales, and then Jamie's brother was part of that, Mark Redknapp, and then all his mates. So I used to go down to London a lot. But Liverpool, I mean, I love Liverpool as a city. It's a great night out. But when you play for arguably the biggest club in the world, it's a goldfish bowl, Liverpool, and you can't go out. It's very difficult. If you win, everyone wants a piece of you. But if you lose, everyone still wants a piece of you, and it's difficult to have a night out and sort of let your hair down. At the end of the day, we're 25, 26. That's what we want to do. We want a bit of a release. So going to London, no one really cared who you were. You could walk around London, no one bother you.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of liked about going to London. There was obviously other things as well, but there was, the sort of, being anonymous was the kind of thing that appealed to me. And we had a really good laugh. I mean, the times me and Jamie shared was amazing. We had such a good time, such a good laugh. But, we were very professional on the pitch. We were always last off it after training. Redders used to love pinging balls for fun. I used to have to stand out and just give him the ball back. He just, Ronnie Moran would go mad because we were on the training ground, hour after we should have gone in. Robbie Fowler would stay behind, shooting. Maka would just hang around, just messing around. We loved it. We loved being around the training ground. We didn't want to go home. So, it was nothing about being unprofessional. It was more of a case we come up against a very, very good Man United team.
Looking back, Jace, do you know that team, like Tom says, I remember watching you because I made my debut 1998 or 99. And I remember I love watching that Liverpool team because you played such free-flowing football. There's you, Newcastle. I love watching Newcastle. Looking back, do you reckon was there any, like Man United brought a Cantona in at the time that really just was the linchpin? Do you think there was a player around or a certain part of the team, if you'd have had that part, the jigsaw would have been complete and you could have won titles? Or do you think it was just you come up against a Man United team that was a machine throughout the 90s? I
think if I was to sit here now and go, listen, we needed to bring a so-and-so in, that means I've got to take someone out the team. Yeah. And I can't be disrespectful to, say, a J-Mo who got really bad criticism around that time for a couple of mistakes. Razor, maybe for, his diet or the way he was, his personality, came through rather than his performances. I mean, Razor had his left foot was like a wand. I know. It was I played him. Drill balls. Yeah. But Razor added to the team spirit. Razor added to the dressing room. It was all part of what we were. I think if anything, if we could go back, I think our game management might have been, which is a big thing now in football, innit? When we were 1-0 up, we'd want to go and get 2, want to go and get 3. We wouldn't close ranks. We wouldn't shut up shop. We wouldn't drop deep. We'd try and go and get 2 or 3, and that's the way we were. People loved us for it, but it cost us in big games. Coventry at home, we got done 2. Wimbledon away, we got done. It's stupid goal. We were winning 1-0, we got done. Just little things like that. I remember back where I just think if we'd have just held on to that 1-0 or that 2-1, we would have, we would have gained so many more points and possibly got over the line. But we went away I remember playing in the semi-final of I think it was either the Cup Winners' Cup or the UEFA Cup. Played Paris Saint-Germain in Paris, and we just went out as a 3-5-2. Maka, free roll, Robbie and Stan, and we got battered 3-0. We literally got battered 3-0. We should have gone there and played a 5-4-1 or something. It was just us. It's just the way we were. We got them back to Anfield. We battered them at Anfield. We scored 2. We got knocked out 3-2 on aggregate. It was just game management with us. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was any one in particular player. Because we were who we were.
We talk about that team. We talk about obviously the free flowing way. But what was what was a typical night out with the Spice Boys? Because I think I was at that time 16, 17. I think like most people, it would have been like, if you could have had a drink with anyone or gone out for a night with anyone in the country, it would have been with you boys, I think. What was a night out like?
A typical night out would be planned. If we were 3-0 up on a Saturday at Anfield, we'd be planning it with 10 minutes to go.
Well, genuinely, were you on the pitch going, we're going to go here tonight?
Yeah. Where are we starting tonight? No, a good win. I tell you what, a good win. Joe will tell you are buzzing, aren't you, Joe? The dressing room, it's brilliant. 3-0 up in football, 4-0 up in football with 20 minutes to go. You're winning 4-0. It's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
It is the best job in the world. It's for flicks and tricks and you're shooting from 45 yards, aren't you? And the crowd are giving you a, ooh. Oh, brilliant. But yeah, we'd be planning, we might plan a night out sort of just after the game. And then we'd literally, it would be determined on what days off you'd get. So if the gaffer go, see you Monday, we might then turn around and go, right, do you want to go down and see Harry? So we'd get in the car, we'd shoot down to London. We'd go in and see Harry. We'd get there. We'd be straight out. We'd either go for some food. I mean, it was lovely restaurants in London.
Yeah.
So around there. Titanic was around, or and then we might end up in Emporium nightclub in London.
Yeah, been there, mate.
Legends, Browns.
Slipped the bounce of £50 many a Saturday night to get through the door.
Mate, I remember Browns, right? A fellow used to run it called Jake Browns, and you go in the front door, and I remember saying to him, Jake, any chance of getting us out the back door? So he'd go, yeah, all right, yeah. And I remember him taking me down these stairs, and then he opened the door and I walked out, and I was literally on the same street as where the front door was. It was literally the back door was next to the front door.
Oh, I know the place.
Next to it. And I walked out, I was like, what the? It was like, oh, mental. But yeah, and then we'd get up. If we'd stay in a hotel sometimes. If not, Sandra would make us a bacon butty. We'd go and see Jamie's granddad, and maybe get a bit of pie mashing liquor, and then liquor. That was horrible stuff. Mate, I'm
not having that. I love liquor.
Is that like paisley sauce or something?
Yeah.
You just ain't been to the right place.
You got to go to the right ones.
Yeah.
Jamie would have took me the right one, right?
Jamie's a posh boy. Jamie's a posh boy.
He's from
he's from Bournemouth.
And doing it. He makes out he's like that. Oh, you're right. He's from Bournemouth.
Jamie was in a blazer and fucking carpet slippers at 12 or 13, mate. He's like Richie Rich.
Mate, you're not wrong. I'm just getting carried away here. Yeah. So
you want my match? You come out of me and Calder. We'll take you out.
Yeah.
That's a date. Yeah. And then we go see his granddad. Then we drive back up, and then we chill on Sunday night. We train on Monday. But it wasn't nothing like. But by the way, people say, "Oh, the Spice Boys, this Spice Boy, that." We'd go to London or we'd go somewhere, and we'd be bumping in to David Beckham and Giggsy, Rio. Yeah. I mean, I remember taking Rio and Frank out one Saturday night, meeting up with them when they were young kids at West Ham. Jamie, we took them out. Yeah, it was great. It was such good times, mate.
Do you think, Joe? Was there were you anonymous in London as you play for what? You play for West Ham, you play for Chelsea. In London, were you as anonymous as, say, Jason would have been?
I know exactly what Jason's saying, because when you go up to Liverpool, it really took me by surprise, in the sense I went up there and I was nearly 30, and I just had I was Carly and with my first baby, and in the pram we stayed at the Hilton, and then while we were looking for a house, and I'd lived in London all my life. And Jason's right. You do get left alone. You're anonymous. Everyone's rushing around doing their business. No one's really bothered. And then to go and play for Liverpool, and just to walk from the from the Hilton to the John Lewis for a sandwich, you get 95% of it's nice, and everyone wants a bit of you because they love their football. They're so passionate about their football. But then you might get 5%, cheeky Everton fan or something to give you a bit of stick. And I just wasn't used to it. So the first 6 weeks for me was an absolute nightmare until I managed to move out to Formby. And it's only because of the passion of the people. And they just love it. Even the girls who were serving me the sandwiches at the John Lewis were talking tactics to me and things like that. And I was used to just strolling down the King's Road. No one even batting an eyelid because you play for Chelsea, or because just the two dynamics of the city. So I know exactly what Jason's saying. It really took me off the heart. I wish I'd have been more prepared for it. I wasn't. It's an incredible city, Liverpool. Like in terms of the punters they just love football so much.
It's a way of life, isn't it? It sums it up there. It's a way of life. I think with London as well, it was a mad place because I was 20 when I signed pro. I mean, I was playing for Marine when I was 18, 19. I was at college. I was waiting in a pub. So I kind of like, when I signed for Liverpool, they were away in Russia playing Vladikavkaz, and they flew by Aeroflot, who had the worst safety record in this. I didn't think they were coming back, to be honest. I thought they were going to make me captain. I thought I was going to be captain. They were going to build a team around me. It was like, oh. But like 2 days later, like Barnsley's walked in, Rushie's walked, and I was literally starstruck. I was like, oh my God. But then like you go to London and, I remember Jamie taking me to the Groucho, right? And I've walked in and I'm having this conversation with someone. And next thing, like the piano's like, someone's piped up on the piano, like Twinkling the Ivories. And I'm thinking, who is that? I turn around, it's like Sienna Miller knocking out like Beethoven on the piano. I'm like, give us a minute, love. I'm trying to have a conversation here. I was just like, and then like one of the Spice Girls will walk in and it's like, oh my God. I was like literally starstruck, but you've got to stay cool, haven't you? You've got to like stay really, really cool. I remember going to Brits. And like, I went to the one Michael Jackson got on stage with Jarvis Cocker. Oh man, I was there. Yeah, it was like, I was like, it just done me brains in, like sitting with all these like dead famous people. I couldn't get my head round. And it was a nice way to be. It was like a nice naivety, but no one cared in London. I just got that impression. No one cared. It was like, it was just I liked it. I really liked it.
It's a nice place like that. It has that. I still lose my shit. Like when we did Soccer Aid this year, Joe. There's times where you're like, we were playing this. There's this game called Dobble. We've talked about it on here before, Jason. And it's like this picture game, right? And you slam down pictures. You've got and I was like playing Dobble, right? Looking around the table, and I'm sitting next to Big David James, who's become a good pal now, and like Heskey's there, Joe's there. Fucking, you just look around this table, Lee Mack, Paddy McGuinness was like, when I started out, Paddy was like, always really good to me, but he was from Phoenix Knights. And I'm thinking, like 8 years ago, I was knocking up scaffolding. And now David James is out shouting at me about cheating in a fucking kids game.
I don't want to top you, right?
No, you can top me.
Go on, mate. Go on.
Mate, seriously, when I scored against Holland in a qualifier for Ireland, right? Yeah. We knocked them out. We eventually got to the World Cup, right? And you two were playing in Slane that night. So there was 100,000 people at Slane. And they put big screens up and they put the match on before the band came out and played. So, of course, like we win 1-0, come in the dressing room, it's dead emotional. I'm crying. I'm like, everyone's like, doing all the interviews and all that. I'm like loving it. And then our physio, he was like an owl fella, Mick Byrne. He comes into I was just taking a little 2 minutes in the bathroom. I was like, just got myself together. Comes in the bathroom and he goes to me, just dead random. He goes, I've had Bono on the phone. I'm like, it's like, Bono. I'm like, what, you too? He's like, yeah. He said, I don't know if you know. He said, they're playing up in Slane tonight. He said, obviously the crowd's gone wild. We've won the game. You've scored the win. He wants you to go on stage.
Wow.
With the band. And like, just go on stage in front of all these people. And I literally turned around to him and went, listen, I've arranged a night out with John Aldridge. I went, tell Bono he's quite welcome to come for a pint after the gig. And I'm like, I was like, tell him no. And he's like, no, he's got a helicopter waiting for you. He wants you to fly up to Slade. He wants you to just get in there. I'm like, I'm out with John Aldridge tonight. Tell him I can't make it. And like, I'm like a proper bin. So I was in Vegas, right? I went on a stag to Vegas about 6 months later, and I'm in the toilet, and there's an Irish kid in the toilet. Comes up to me, he goes, he said, I was at that concert in Slane. He said, and Bono shout your name, like, imagine, it's Jason McAteer. He said, were you not supposed to walk out at that point? And you know when it just hits you and you just think, shit, I proper messed up here. I'm like, and if you go on YouTube, right, I shit you not, right, it happens on YouTube, and it's like, it would have been the best thing ever.
Oh, mate, it'd be amazing.
Mate, I was like being sick in a toilet in Dublin.
Imagine that. He fully, no one ever says no to him. So he's got his people to ring Jason McAteer in the Irish team to get him on his helicopter to go there. Macca's absolutely bombed him.
Pied him off.
And these people absolutely pied him. And then these people have like so shit scared of him, they're not even told him, just let him get on with it. I'm not taking the blame. I'm not telling him someone said no to Bono.
Well, Bono...
Oh, mate, what a story that is, Macca.
About 3 years later, they were in concert. I tried to get tickets for him. I couldn't get tickets. I rang everyone. I couldn't get tickets to go and see him. He's like, he ain't having tickets. He blew me out.
You know, the idea of someone coming into Bono and saying, Jason McAteer wants tickets. He's like, he made me look an prize prick in front of 60,000 people.
I know.
Shout out his name.
All I want to know is, how good must the night out with John Aldridge be? And when's my invitation?
He got off at 11:30. He was smashed. He was drinking all the way through the game, wasn't he? Oh, mate. Proper bin bag Bono, yeah.
Are we going to talk? Actually, are we going to talk about football at all?
We've got a new feature, Joe. We have a new feature.
Right.
So the producers of the show have gone out and they've done a thing where they've asked people. They want questions from listeners, viewers, etc. And this is called What Really Happened. And Jason, I'm sure you've been asked about this millions and millions of times. And while we're talking about Ireland, we're talking about 2002. The infamous, the Roy Keane situation there.
What you had, right, is, I mean, I used to come back into a dressing room, being with Ireland, and Macca, Jamo, Robbie, Jamie, they'd all come back from England, and they found it really tough at times with England. It was quite regimental under some of the managers. You know, there was no nights out, there was no real camaraderie, camps were split at times. You know, we went over and basically had a party. You know, we come back with hats on and we come back in the dressing room like that. It was like, you know, and they were a bit jealous of that. But, you know, that camaraderie we had was what we needed. We weren't blessed with, you know, Jamie Redknapp and, you know, Paul Scholes and David Beckham and Shearer and Joe Cole. And we weren't blessed with that kind of talent. You know, we had to really come together and grind out results. We weren't pretty, but we did it. You know, so there were completely different dynamics. But I think what we had is part of our camaraderie and our team spirit came from, you know, being like the dog and duck, really.
Yeah.
You know, not having great tracksuits. England would have all the nice tracksuits. We were Umbro as well, and we'd have all like, it was kind of like we'd laugh. We'd have England's like cast off. We were like, England never wear that. Give it the Irish. Like, they'll wear it. You know, and like, do you know what, mate? I swear to God, we flew to the World Cup. We left Dublin on Aer Lingus like that. And everyone thought we were getting on this lovely plane all the way to Japan, right? We flew to Holland and like landed in Holland and got on this like tin pot plane, like swapped planes and took off again and carried on. It was like, I mean, we were like talking to the England lads. They were getting phones. You were giving phones, weren't you? And,
mate, I've never been given so much stuff going to the World Cup.
Laptops, phones. Mate, we had to share a SIM card to ring home. We were like that, putting SIM cards, like, got the SIM card.
Yeah, mental. And we got so much that World Cup because I think mainly because Bex was involved and it was Japan. So all the sponsors were just giving us like, and you can't give it to him and not give it to anyone else. So I walked into my room going to the World Cup. But I was 29, like 20 maybe, going into the 2002 World Cup. I couldn't move for laptops and phones and computers, and I couldn't move. And I'm just like, I'm dishing out. When we went home, I couldn't even fit it in the car. And I'm dishing out to all my pals, like, you know, I swear some of them have still got the laptops now and the phones. It was unbelievable the amount of stuff we got.
So we've ended up going to this island just off Japan for like a few days, just of like rest and just getting together and a bit of team bonding and all that. And I mean, it was a beautiful island. And, you know, the kit man in his wisdom has decided probably because it was cheaper to send it on like a Thursday morning instead of like on a Saturday afternoon by DHL. It was cheaper to send it that way. You know, so he's done it, and literally the training kit's not turned up. We've got no kit. It was like Harry Bassett, Mike Bassett. It was like that film. It was like we're literally borrowing a football off a couple of kids and training in our own gear. It was like, so of course, like you could see Roy, he was just getting redder and redder, and then like, you know, then we turned up at the training ground, and it was like bone dry. So we were all stiff after training. Then we goes back the next morning, and they'd flooded it, basically flooded the training ground. It was like they just left the hose on overnight. It was flooded. His head had gone, and then the keeper's done something, and his head went with that. And then I think the final straw was Mick invited the press to a bit of a barbecue night. Of course, his head's just come off. Then is like So like, so he's done this interview with the press, and I actually think he thought Mick wouldn't see it. He wouldn't actually get to see it before we get to Japan, and it would all be like calm down there and stuff. So anyway, we had dinner at like 6:00, and Mick McCarthy turns around and he goes, "I want everyone back in here 7:00 team meeting." So we're like, "All right then." So we finishes dinner like 6:20. We're just hanging around in reception, and a journalist comes over to me and he gives me this bit of paper and he goes, "That's what your meeting's about." So I've read this article that Roy's done, and he's like gone to town on the training ground and the preparation, and he had a go at me and I had a go at Quinny, and it was like, wow, this is like...
What did he ever go at you about?
Just for being stupid and just like accepting it, and, you know, just... Yeah. And like, it was mad because for the first time, I reckon, in my whole Irish career, I got really close to him. Like we had jet lag at like 4 in the morning, and he was rooming next door to me, and he was knocking on my door every morning. I'd open the door, he'd go, "Come on, we'll go for a walk." And I'd go, "All right." And we'd go off for a walk, and we just start talking about the family and about like, it was brilliant. And it was like, it was kind of like we were the senior pros, and he could sort of, you know, we had a bit in common and stuff. But we always had this rivalry in Man United Liverpool up to that.
Yeah.
You know, so it was always a bit strained, our relationship. I remember joining up one time, like years before, and I'd played on the Monday night footy, and I joined up on the Tuesday, and I got in, and they were all eating. And I've gone round, I'm shaking everyone's hand, and I just patted him on the back. I went, "All right, mate." And he literally just looked at me like that, and he went, "I'm not your mate." Like that. It was like, I was like, "Oh, shit."
Wow.
Like one of them. It was like proper. His head has obviously come off about something. So anyway, I'm reading this thing, and I thought, shit. So I thought, like myself, I thought, oh, it's going to go off. Like it's going to go off.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to get ringside.
Meetings, by the way, just said that. Oh, when you notice that, and you think, oh, you got it away.
Like that, especially when it's not you. Like, oh, so I was saying, I'm going to get ringside here. Yeah. So I goes in to like the room. It's like a private room where we were eating, and he's in there on his own. He's just sitting at the table. So like, have you ever been in a car park where there's no cars, and you go in there and park, and some knobhead comes and parks right next to you?
Or when you're on a train, if you're sitting on a train, there's a whole free carriage and some dickhead sits next to you. Like, what?
Yeah, mate, it must have been like that because he's in this room on his own, and I went and sat next to him, like, right next to him. He must have been thinking, "What's this knobhead doing?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, this is brilliant," and it's you. Like, I know it's him, and I'm thinking, "You don't know it's you," and I'm thinking, brilliant. Next to all the lads coming in, we all sit down, and then Mick comes in. He's got this bit of paper, and he just goes, "Right, lads, we're leaving 9:00 in the morning. You're not on the bus. 9:00. We're going without you. Blue trackies that England won't wear. White t-shirts. Don't forget your laptops and your phones and your." Oh no, England have got all them. So then he goes, "Right, I've got to mention this, but Roy," he said, "you've done this newspaper article," and like before he even like goes into it, Roy like puts his chair back, like, and basically just goes on this like mad like not abuse, but like defense, like you know, it was this training ground was this, it was that, it was this, and I mean, it wasn't like until he turned around and went, "You're a shit coach, and your assistant manager's shit." And it was just like, oh my God. And you know when like it goes past that point of like, this ain't coming back, this.
Yeah.
It's either going to go off where we're going to start throwing punches here and it's going to be like the OK Corral, or it's just going to like, so next thing he stands up and he just goes, "I'm going home." And he literally walks out the door and slams it. And then there was this like silence in the room. It was just like dead quiet. And then I remember Mick, he just turns around and he goes, "Has anyone got anything to say?" And Dean Kiley, who was like the reserve keeper, he puts his hand up like that, right? And Mick goes, "What is it, Dean?" And he went, "Mick, I just want you to know I can play centre midfield if you need me." The whole place just cracked up, right? But I reckon he heard it. I reckon Roy heard us laughing, right? Yeah. And of course, like his head's come off. So it was like dead awkward. So then I was rooming next to him. I was rooming with Steve Staunton, but he was in the room next door to me on his own. And I remember like going upstairs, and I thought to myself, I feel really bad, so I'm going to knock and see if I can persuade him to stay. And I knocked on the door, and he opened it dead quick. He must have been standing right behind it. He opened it dead quick. He just went, "What do you want?" And to be honest, I shit my pants. And I just went, "Listen, I've lent you the DVD. Could you just pop it back under my room before you leave?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went back to my room. I got up next morning. There was no DVD.
DVD all shattered and smashed.
I doubt it, mate. It was a winner. You know what I mean? And then he went home. And then like we flew to Japan, and then we landed. And it was like the world's media were on top of us. And like we couldn't go out the hotel. And this is like from '94 when we were going to Disney and like going out for a pint and like going to coffee shops and just walking around normal. No one bothered us. We've gone from that, which was like a brilliant experience, to 2002 not being able to go out the hotel.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like, it was just shit. It was just.
What was you, Joe? You were in the England camp. What were you guys thinking at that time about it? Because you must have had some like Beckham and people playing who knew Roy.
Yeah, it was massive news, weren't it, at the time? And I just remember, like, listen, as a young, they didn't. For me, I couldn't care less. Like, I loved all the tournaments. I loved going away with England. I loved watching. I watched all the games. I loved. I was in the arcade. I was like, I'm still like a big kid now in that sense. Like, I love being around football camps and But I just remember looking at it and it being just on every. Like Macca's right, it was everywhere. And then there was like he's back home in Manchester, and then I just remember it being such a big news, and I was just like, well, there's a World Cup to play, I wasn't really that interested in it, but I remember everyone else in the squad being like, it's a bit of drama, wasn't it, and.
But did they like Beckham and stuff? People who played with him.
I didn't speak to him about it, big man.
94, right? Do you know what we all watched? I remember getting back from training, and we all watched it. O.J. Simpson.
Oh yeah.
You turn your telly on, and for hours you just watch. Do you remember like that dog was just walking around his car and then just done a big shit and just it was on the telly. It was like, but you were waiting for O.J. Simpson. It was like that. It was like you go back to your room, turn your telly on, and it'd be like Roy walking the dog, or Roy doing the chat show, or like news was coming through that he might be coming back, and it was like, oh mate, it was mental.
Well, I don't think there's a better way to start off a new segment than that. That was incredible, Jason. Thank you so much. Now, Jason, it's a bit of a highlight of the show. Joe is going to do some reading and our Fan of the Year announcement.
The lads give me stick, but let's see how I go.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Right. Who's winning the league this season? Maybe the Toffees can continue their great form. Will the Blues benefit from German firepower? Will it be about a Belgian who can put a ball on a sixpence? How are the champions going to cope without him? Whatever happens, it's going to be exciting.
No one knows football better than a Coral Football Better.
Who's the best football fan you know? Nominate them at fanoftheyear.co.uk. Alan Shearer picks a winner every month. Coral gives them a grand in football-related prizes. You're listening to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Smashed it. Right, chaps. It's one of my favourite weekends of the year. It's the FA Cup, third round. Big boys coming in. Giant killers, etc., all that. And Marine, that's your old team, right, Jason? Hosting Tottenham.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, I'm doing the game, actually. Yeah, the BBC have asked me to go in. Everyone must be away in Dubai or something.
Mate, I think, I'll tell you what, mate. I'll bet out in Dubai you can't move for ex-footballers and fucking people from Towie.
Essex has just arrived in Dubai, isn't it?
Well, let's get back to the FA Cup, because that's something at least it's not going to make me and Jason have fucking breakdowns here. Did you play, when you played for Marine, did you play in any sort of like FA Cup, anything? I mean, this is a massive game, isn't it, hosting Tottenham?
He winded me up. I was in the Rezzies. I didn't even get in the first team in Marine. The manager didn't have a clue. Yeah, I was playing for Marine Reserves in 1990. I was playing in the World Cup in 94. Jesus Christ. I've never, do you know what? I was going to ask Joe, actually. I've never been involved in a giant killing where I've been killed. Like, I've never been knocked out for playing for a big club. But I played in the other way. Like, I played for Bolton. We knocked Arsenal out. We knocked Liverpool out. Yeah. Villa, Everton.
I remember that cup run. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember them games. Funny you said that, yeah.
Were you ever in one, Joe?
Mate, I played for West Ham. Of course, we always used to. It was every year, wasn't it? We got. I remember 2008 at Chelsea. We got beat by Barnsley, who were a Championship side, but it was on the. We had all the big hitters out. We was going for the quadruple that year. It was the year we got to the Champions League final, League Cup final. Lost the league on goal difference, and we'd got beat by Barnsley. So we won nothing that year, and Avram Grant, who was the manager, still got the best record. We was like, an inch away from winning everything. We had all the big hitters out, and we got beat by Barnsley. And although it was only one division, it felt massive. And there was a real. That's probably one of the lowest moments in your career, because in them old stadiums, Jason would tell you, you can hear the fans celebrating outside, and it was massive for the club, and that was pretty bad. Yeah, so I've had a few of them. They're not.
But I was at Wimbledon last season when we played Wimbledon. We put out a strong team, West Ham. Pellegrini, it was sort of like in the end it worked out okay because it was the end of Pellegrini really. But we had Hernandez on the pitch. You looked at that team, and even before the game, I remember them saying, "Oh, this is a strong West Ham team." And I mean, look, I've been a West Ham fan a long time, and I remember the Tranmere game. You for years and years.
Tranmere. I lost to Tranmere, that's it. All right, I could tell you about that. Sorry, big man. Harry said to me before the game, Harry Redknapp, and I was an 18-year-old kid. I broke into the team, I was playing regular, and you think you're the Billy Big Nuts, and you think, I'm playing against This is the first experience, and I should remember that. I remember thinking, this mob are in League 2, whatever they are, I'm going to turn up and do all the flicks and tricks, and it's going to be easy. I turned up at Prenton Park, is it, Macca? The Tranmere ground, yeah. And he said to me, this lad's got a long throw, Challoner. Before the days of actually showing the lads videos, he said, so I want you to stand in front of him. So this kid's got the ball, he was a grown man, on the halfway line, and I think he's not going to throw it in the box from there. And he's literally, Harry's screaming at me and Frank, and I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, he's not going to throw it in. And he's launched it from the halfway line. Remember Rory Delap?
Yeah.
And then it's gone up, smash, head clash, gone up, smash, head clash. And I thought, wow, this is a bit different to what I'm used to. And we got beat that game, and I was dreadful. And I think Harry took me out of the team that day, so that was a lesson learned. So they raised their game. We had young players like me, inexperienced, and we end up getting beat.
Yeah. I mean, if Marine, going back to that game, if Marine beat Spurs, it will be bigger than the Wrexham, Arsenal, Hereford. Yeah. All the massive shocks we've seen over the years. Brilliant. It will be the biggest. I always think for the bigger team, like for Tottenham, it's about attitude. Players going into the game, it's all about attitude. But then as a pundit, I'm trying to look. The pitch always plays its part this time of year. They're not going to be used to the pitch. I'm sure they're going to bring the lines in and make it smaller just so they can get at them. and they're going to be physical. That's all you've got. You know, as quality, you're never going to match Tottenham. Marine are never going to match. You know, that's fact. But you can match them for effort and desire.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not overawed by the situation and give a good account of themselves, they're always going to get a chance. They're always going to get one chance. And
I find the saddest thing about it as well, because I remember like Sutton, like I'm from like a little place, Sutton. Sutton have had a couple of those in the cup, but you know, over the years where you get those, you know, like Marine now. If you think we're out, you know, if COVID wasn't here, that whole town would, that whole area would just be like focusing for probably maybe a month on this game. Flags out, you know, and that for Marine, that's their time of going. We're playing Tottenham, you know. That's you know, they're, you know, it's an amazing thing that they're doing, you know. But you feel so sorry for the people of Marine, like, because it's such a thing. You'd have loved to have seen the stands packed, like people there. You know,
Mourinho on the pitch at Marine.
Yeah,
be amazing, wouldn't it?
And he won't miss around, Mourinho.
Ground. It's really tight, Marine. It's tiny. Yeah. It's like, you know, they would put it on top of them, 3-sided ground. You know, the pitch will be bobbly as, you know, the dressing rooms are tiny. You know, it's like, you'd be walking into there. I just like Harry Kane, and well, I'm sure Harry's quite down to earth, but there'll be some of the foreign lads who won't be accustomed to like that kind of thing. Would have never seen it before in their life. It's about the action. I'm sure he's going to make changes, isn't he? I'm quite sure he is, but they won't expect what's coming. I
mean, I'm looking at the odds now from Coral on the FA Cup, and we've got Man City, your favourites, at 10-3, Chelsea 7-1, Liverpool 15-2, Man United, Spurs 8-1. Is there anyone you look at? I mean, I look at West Ham at 28-1. I think with Moisey might now. I think, you know, he could look at it and go, we're pretty safe league-wise. He's made a good start. You know, a cup run would be incredible. I say this every year, but a cup run would be incredible at West Ham. Is there anyone you look at now and you think, I fancy them, I really fancy them for the FA Cup? Who do you look at there? Jason first.
I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to say Villa. If they get past us, and also you need a bit of luck in the, you know, you can draw lower league teams, can't you, all the way up to the semis. I'm going to go Villa for a little outside chance.
28-1 as well. With West Ham at 28-1. I mean, it's a good call. You think as well. I mean, last year though, Arsenal seemed to have to face everyone to get to the final, and you know, and Arteta looks like. I mean, you know, whether he's got an eye on that cup as well. And you know, what about yourself, Joe?
No, I agree with Macca. I think it's a good shout. I think the odds there for them middle range teams, your West Ham, your Villas, your Everton will be a less odds than that, but that sort of team where they may sort of, if they can get through to the 5th, 6th round, then they haven't got the league to play for, they're safe. I think that's the sensible money. That's where the betting, I think, will go. I think you're right. As sad as it is, because the FA Cup was the be-all and end-all to me more than the league growing up, and then that gradually changed as I started playing. I was still lucky enough to win it on a few occasions, but I agree with Macca. I think them middle teams who are going to be safe, and if they are still in it in the 5th round, I think they focus. Imagine West Ham winning an FA Cup, mate. David Moyes would have his statue down Green Street, wouldn't he? Let's get it right.
But do you think as well, though? Because any other season, I'd sort of agree with you, but this season seems so strange. Where you look at, you know, the amount that top half is what is sort of essentially joint first, joint second, joint third, down to 10th. So, do you look at it as a way, if you are Villa or if you are West Ham, say, or anyone up in that mix? It's January now, whether you can bring some names in. I think it's going to be tougher to do. But do you look at it and go, wow, this could actually be a chance for us to finish 6th, 7th? I mean, I think now you've watching City last night. I think City seem like they're playing well. They, you know, and we'll talk about Liverpool in a second because they feel like they, you know, injuries maybe caught up. They sort of dropped off a little bit. But do you think that, as you know, Villa at the moment, I watch Villa and I think, you know, if they can keep Jack through it, they could certainly challenge. You know, not challenge for the league. You know, I think that's, you know, I hope anyone but United does it, if I'm going to be completely honest. But if you even Everton, I look at Everton and think, if you can just get another run together, people are going to drop off. There's going to be moments, you know. I think that's the strangest thing to see. I mean, where do you look at Liverpool at the moment, Jace? Like, it's because it has been a weird time.
it's been so unpredictable, hasn't it? I mean, no pre-season, it was straight into it. Injuries now, every week we're losing someone influential as well, big players. We've coped really, really well. Defensively, actually, we've actually been really, really good. Our Achilles heel recently has been, our front three is scoring goals, which you'd never say about a Liverpool team. In the past under Jurgen Klopp, the football we played, the goals we scored, the chances we created, and the talent we've got in them areas. You'd never think it was a problem, but it is. I just think, tiredness, mental tiredness. We're just getting over Christmas. Away games as well with no fans. It's kind of, I think some players are finding it easier to play, without crowds because they can sort of express themselves a little bit more. There's not 60,000 people caning you at every bad ball. So some players are taking more risk. I think as far as where we'll be at the end of the season, I think the cream will come to the top. I think we're seeing Manchester City click into gear now. I think Liverpool is a blip. I think they're still there. Tottenham, Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, they'll all find some form again towards the end of the season, and they'll all be fighting for them Champions League positions. But I do agree with it. I do think, for the likes of Southampton, Villa, Newcastle, what a chance they had, against Brentford, and then mess it up. But they could have been in a semi-final of a cup.
Yeah.
What Steve Bruce would have done for that.
Yeah.
And players, it's beyond belief that they didn't go for it more or get through that fixture. What an opportunity. But you're right, I mean, there's going to be more opportunity this season because of everything being unpredictable and the injuries and COVID and teams being left without players and stuff. It's a real opportunity maybe just to drop into that Champions League, which is a great time to do it because if you think with the vaccine and everything coming out now, we're probably looking at next May, June, July, August, fans being brought back in. By this time next year, we should have full houses again. Yeah. If you're Southampton, you've nicked the Champions League place this season. Yeah. You could be out the group in the Champions League playing someone massive in the Champions League. Yeah. Yeah. Knockout stages this time next year in front of full houses. So yeah, it's a great opportunity and it's one that they should take.
Joe, you're obviously sort of a part of that Chelsea team under Mourinho, and Mourinho liked a little bit of a whingy, liked a bit of a complain up, and whether you put that down to mind games or what. But Klopp this week for the first time has come out and sort of like complained about United and the amount of penalties they've got. Do you think that's Klopp maybe trying to play a little bit of that, or do you think that Klopp is genuinely? I mean, it is insane the amount of penalties United have had. I think
he's been clever. I think he's managing expectations, managing the media, because everyone's like you said, everyone's not panicking around Liverpool. Listen, Jason's right. They will turn up and spank people from now to the end of the season. But what's happened is the Van Dijk is the most crucial part that's gone, but also Matip and Gomez. And the way they play a high line, because we analysed them on BT Sport 2 or 3 times. I did the Crystal Palace game, I did the Brighton game, and they won the Crystal Palace game 7-0. But in the first 30 minutes, Palace got in behind them and made 3 or 4 chances. And I don't ever remember teams making that amount of chances against a Liverpool side with Van Dijk. And what his Klopp's done is he's thought to himself, right, I'm either going to get the young lads in, Williams, centre-half, and go with natural centre-halves and keep the midfield, the Henderson-Fabinho partnership midfield, keep parts of my team, segments of my team where they should be and how they've been used to playing, and I'm going to blood these youngsters. But I think what he's gone down the road of is he's going to, in the big games, go and play Fabinho, Henderson or someone else just to get as many of the mainstay players in the team, even if they're playing that position. And what he's done to Liverpool is just put them off kilter a little bit, and they don't operate as they have been the last 2.5 years, consistently brilliant. So you're going to have games where it just doesn't quite work because of the injuries. So it's so important for me this January. If I'm Jurgen Klopp, I'm saying to the people that back me now, that let's not mess about. Let's not go and try and buy a stopgap. You've seen what I've done to this club. I've took them from there to there. We've won everything. Back me now. Let's go and get the best centre-halves we can possibly get, even if we have to pay over the odds, because it's going to be so crucial. Because there was a time at Chelsea when we had the similar thing when Terry, Carvalho and Gallas were injured. And we took Michael Essien out of the midfield and put him in centre-half alongside Paulo Ferreira from right-back and put him in there rather than putting the youngsters in the side. And it just made us not operate as well as we could. And then that was 2007, and it took us 3 seasons to win the league again. You know, and that's where Liverpool are now. So if Liverpool are smart, and I know in this current times, whether they will spend money or whether they won't spend money because of the uncertainty around football, I think if I'm Jurgen Klopp, I'm stamping my feet in front of the directors and the moneymen and saying, right now, listen, I need money. Even if we have to pay 10, 15, 20 million over the asking price, we need a dominant centre-half in this team who, when Van Dijk comes fit, he's going to play next to Van Dijk, and then we're going to carry on and dominate for the next 10 years. If they go and try and find a stopgap, I'm not sure it's going to work for him. And I think if they give that Man City that little bit of light to come back into it, then I think they will. And then all of a sudden, Liverpool don't win. Say Liverpool don't win nothing this year. Is Mo Salah, is it looking a bit more inviting for him, Mane, to go to Spain and play for one of the big clubs? You want to keep the momentum going. So they need to spend money this January.
Is there anyone that you can think of, Jason, who could come in there now? Who would you look at? Both of you, actually, Jason, Joe. Who would you look at? Like, would you look at someone? Because there's a lot to be said about getting someone who's Premier League proven. I think in January you've got and like you say, Jason, there's no time to get acclimatised at the moment. There's no point buying someone who's going to go, oh, you know what, next season this guy's going to be amazing. You need someone who's going to hit the ground running, right?
You know, Liverpool, Michael Edwards and Matt Gordon and Jurgen, you know, they sit down, they plot their way through, you know, the recruitment, and apart from maybe one, maybe two, you know, that they've got wrong, the others have been sensational. All the players they've brought in have worked. You know, they've built a team. It's you know, it is what it is, and it's remarkable. But you know, they do have a blueprint of how they bring in players. You know, whether it's age, wages, longevity, whatever it may be that they look at. There is a criteria, but they did go against that when they brought Thiago in. Yeah. You know, they did, you know, step out of that, but. And in that sense, you know, I think the obvious one is Koulibaly. You know, if they bring him in alongside Virgil van Dijk. And I agree with Joe. I think what I love about Jurgen is he's very loyal and he's very passionate for his players. You know, it's a very close shop, Liverpool. I mean, Melwood, you just can't, well, it's not Melwood, they've moved now, but you just cannot get in there. It's like sacrilege. It's just the place where they are. And they built this they're trying to build this empire, but I think this is a real tough one for Jurgen, where sentiment needs to be left at the door. You know, I love Joe Gomez. I love him to bits. And I love Matip. I think they've done fantastically well. But you just get them players in football who just can't stay fit. They just cannot stay fit. You need consistency with your two centre-halves. You look through history, you know, Vidic and Ferdinand, you know, you go back, Pallister, Bruce, Adams and Bold, you know, they stayed fit all season. Yeah. You know, they missed the odd 1 or 2 games, but they stayed fit, and it was like they just, you know, dominated and won leagues and cups and everything. I think, you know, that's your foundation, isn't it? Liverpool had it. It's been taken away from them. And I think now, unfortunately, Joe's injured again. Matip's out the team again. And I think Jurgen's got, you know, a real decision to make. And I agree with Joe. I think it's the right one. Is you go and buy a long mainstay centre-half to play against Van Dijk. You know, he's not back for another 6 or 7 months. But you go and get him now. You pay over the odds. You bring him in now, and you keep the momentum, because, like Joe said, once the momentum goes, it's very difficult to get back on track again, because, you know, you lose it, and then all of a sudden he's looking at this attractive move. His agent's in his ear about going, you know, Barcelona on a rebuild. Real Madrid are always looking. Bayern Munich are always looking. You know, they're very enticing them moves, aren't they? You know, when it's not going well, they always look rosier. Yeah. So you've got to keep the momentum to keep the players. And I agree with Joe. I think centre-half is paramount, and I think it's now.
Let's see what they do. As long as I don't get a bongia from West Ham, I'll be happy, mate. He's been incredible this season. That's what I've been having sleepless night. Him and Rice, that's all I hope they stay. I'm just like incredible players. Right, Jason, it's prediction time. We're awful at this, me and Joe, let me tell you. We're terrible at this.
We got beat again.
Yeah. Kevin Phillips gets 1 out of 3. I got 1 out of 3. Joe, you got 1 out of 3. So let's do next week's midweek fixtures. Right. First up, right. All I need is who's going to win or a draw. Let's go Sheffield United versus Newcastle. Jason first.
I'll draw.
Joe?
Sheffield United, big man. They need to win. They have to win soon. They're not that bad.
They're not that bad, but I don't know. I want to go Newcastle there. So we've got a little range going. Next one up. Jason, Wolves, Everton.
I'm going to go Wolves.
Joe?
Draw.
I think Everton. I think it's something about Everton this year. I want to hit up Everton. Next, big one, Aston Villa versus Spurs.
How tough are these?
Yeah. They are tough.
Villa Spurs. I'm going to go... What have I gone? I've gone one draw.
Yeah. Then you got Wolves.
Oh, I'm going to go away.
Spurs.
Spurs, yeah. I'm going to go Spurs.
Go.
Me too, big man.
Yeah, I'm going to go Spurs. I think just primarily because of saying Jason, I think Villa are going to put a strong team out against Liverpool Friday. And I think Spurs can actually go off, name a more inexperienced team maybe. And they're going to, he wants to really make a dent in this league, doesn't he?
Buzz around the place as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spurs get to the final. Everyone's got a smile on their face. Jose's got a smile on his face.
Yeah.
That's not good when he's
But
smiling.
then Villa, man, when they turn up, they're sounding a bit special this season. I really enjoy watching them. Listen, Jason, it's been an absolute joy having you. I genuinely could have sat here all day chatting to your brother.
I've got a plane to catch. I've got to go goodbye.
There's no rooms left. All of Essex is here.
You're not wrong. You can't get a room. I'll just stay in Joe's suite. He'll have a spare corner room.
There won't be no chocolates left by the time you get
The
here.
Emperor's Lounge. I thought you were going to be on today's call in one of those kimonos. Do you know what I mean? In cravat.
Oh, damn.
Joe, as always, a pleasure. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time.
You've been watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.